This is the stochastic fiction game. It is a timed writing game. When I press this button right there, for an hour and a half, this timed writing game will commence after and while I create the stochastic fiction outline. The stochastic fiction outline is going to generate a series of story elements that for the next hour and 30 minutes are going to be something to create a story around and then read it at the end and rate it as well. This is the generated stochastic fiction outline for today. For today's stochastic fiction game, story elements, to write a story within about an hour and 29 minutes, we have setting time past, setting main location swamp, conflict person versus nature, quantity of primary characters 2, point of view first, tense past tense, genre fable, format flash fiction. I was getting really excited for the story elements until I landed on Fable. I'm going to have to look up what a Fable is again today. I've done Fable before for the stochastic fiction game, but never for these story elements, and I'm always having a struggling time writing fables, especially flash fiction fables. But let's write what we have before us instructed to write. There's our rating system. Here is a place for our story words. And so I need, what's the tense? Was it past tense? Was it time is set in the past and the tense is the past and it's a swamp and it's a person versus nature? I mean, that's a given. Well, you're in a swamp. I mean, that's not a given, but that's kind of something I can adapt to. Like, you're in a swamp and you're a person and your conflict is nature. I've been to swamps. You can create lots of conflict for a person. So, and the primary characters too. So it could be a fable with two characters that are learning a lesson off each other through some sort of animal. And the point of view is a first-person point of view. That'll be a little bit difficult. I don't know many fables that are first-person points of view. Usually they're omniscient third, but at least the ones I've read. Past tense, that's whatever, and fable and flash fiction. Like tall tales, fables. I'm thinking tall tale and fable is two different things. Yes, I'm human. Sometimes I get things wrong. Most of the time I get things wrong. I just have the ability to talk and maybe make them seem like they're right. Let me go ahead and process Fable. I'm going to do a search and return engine. Let's just use my definition of Fable in mind. Fable is a literary genre defined by a succinct fictional story in prose and verse, thus features animals, legendary creatures, plants, and animate objects, forces of nature that are anthropomorphized, and that illustrates or leads to a particular moral lesson. All right, moral lesson in a swamp. We need swamps. Wow. Got an hour and 26 minutes to write a fable in flash fiction format. Gotta have a moral lesson learned, right? Something like that. Particularly illustrates or leads to a particular moral lesson in a swamp. Person versus nature. I mean, the whole point of this, well, not the whole point. A point of this game is to experience the journey as I try to write a thing. And in order to be able to experience that journey, it helps me, at least, to express it outwards and my thoughts that are going in my mind and the inspiration that I have right now. Very much read the news. One of the things that's top of my mind is, of course, the United States of America and the new Florida concentration camp in the swamp. I believe they're calling it Alligator Alcatraz, where just generations of the SS seem to be putting people who may or may not have broken any laws. We'll find out in this place. So that's really top of mind today. It's been in a little bit. I read news in the morning. That's definitely cluttered along with a bunch of other stuff. But because that story is in a swamp, that's what really triggered that thought to become the forefront of my mind. Because it is in a swamp too, and it's a real thing. person versus nature. Maybe they escape. Maybe it's a prisoner and a guard. Yeah, maybe one's an ice agent, and one is, they don't know. They're just human. Fuck them for being human, right? Yeah, that's it. Let's go for it. You got inspired by real life. So this is gonna be in Florida. This is gonna be in what they call the Alligator Alcatraz. I may use that real name. I may something else, but I'm trying to think of just a swamp prison, detention camp, and it's gonna be a Fable. And it can be in. You got to think of decent prose. I got an hour and 24 minutes to write this, and so if there's two players, we got the ice agent, and we have the suspected illegal alien. They don't know. They don't really care, to be honest with you. It's not the point. The point is to scare the hell out of everybody and throw them into submission. But very slowly, so you don't notice the water is boiling around you. Okay, so we have past, swamp, present tense. I'm going to be a little bit liberal with the word past today, and technically this is the past tense right now. Everything beyond this moment right now is the future. Everything past that, past. I'm not going to use my buffer for reality today. I'll just say it's in the past. And two characters. I mean, that's the setting time too. If it's like a fictional world, maybe. Yeah, man, I always keep on saying this, but I'm going to try to spend some time today to update the stochastic fiction game to add something like planets and worlds and different places. I think I have space, but anyway, let's not talk too much. We got to write in a swamp, in a cage. Maybe they're escaped. They've escaped. What is the moral lesson? That's the hard part. I got to have some moral lesson learned. Don't trust the government. Even though the government's you, so don't trust yourself. Look in the mirror. You're part of the problem as much as I am. Especially when it comes to living in a society, a structured civilization. So I've already seen it. If he's got to learn a lesson, I think maybe they don't learn the moral lesson. I think I want to see the person escape, save the ice agent. The ice agent still takes them back to the prison, and maybe it lets them die. Moral of the story is don't always trust the government. Don't always trust authority. Don't always trust. What's the conflict? Person versus nature is the conflict, though, not person versus society. So I can't go down that route. Let's walk it back. Man, I only got an hour and 21 minutes left. Sometimes I give myself 2 hours for the stochastic fiction game, but I wanted to be bold and give myself an hour and a half today. And I really wish it was person versus society in a swamp. I'd have my story, but it's person versus nature. So let's wind that back a bit. Because if I had a person versus nature, they're escaping, right? And they're having strugglers, and the conflict is with nature and not being chased. The ultimate root of the conflict in a chase scenario where this is an escaped jailer, the main conflict is the fact that they're running with each other. Stochastic fiction game. Yes, that's what I'm trying to play. I'm just drawing a big blank of nothing. I don't know. A little bit lost. It's a person versus nature conflict that I'm more than a little lost on. Unless you're like having some survival story. Like why are they in a swamp? What's the moral lesson is you can't fight the land. And maybe, yeah. And there's two people. God damn. I wish I gave myself 2 hours today. I don't know if I'll be able to do this in an hour and a half. But let's just write and shut up. So the conflict is in a swamp versus nature. And there's two people. And it has to be a fable. Fuck. We got to start off with the conflict because this also has to be a flash fiction story. And just easier if you start with the conflict in the first paragraph to set up the entire story. It is different for other sort of lengths of stories like short story and novel. Let's just start with the flooding. Let's see what those words go. Rising waters. Seep through the tent. Seeped under the fence, maybe. We could just have it one night. As much as I wanted to go off the political bent that I was talking about, I kind of want to return to it. It's just not the same conflict, so I can't go down that story route and feel like I've actually adhered to the story elements. I much liked my swamp concentration camp created by ice through the tents. And maybe this is, I can take the position of like, oh man, where I want to go with this story and where I have time to go with this story to fit in with these elements are just not there. I can find a way. So person versus nature in a swamp, got flooding, got disease, but why are they there? Who hangs out in swamps unless you're a scientist? You're running from something, or you're hunting. Maybe hunting for alligators. Okay, so let's do that. This person's hunting for alligators in a swamp. And we'll have the other primary character be an actually alligator because it is a fable, so I can have animals talk, and everyone's like, yes, that's what fables do. Animals talk. There's a fable, but everyone's done that fable before. In different animals, of course, not just humans and alligators, where one gets injured, and the predator, the alligator, somehow talks with them, and then they have a mutual agreement for one to save the other, and then the other comes back and doesn't, gets alligator boots. Fable, though, yeah, I'm thinking I gotta separate tall tale and fable. So it's an old fable that's already been told. All these fables have been told in one way or another. I haven't told them yet, though, or wrote them. So let's go ahead and have it just be an injured hiker. I don't want it to be an injured scientist. It's got to be someone willing to kill the alligator at the end. So it is a hunter. Yes, they're going to be in a boat, a little pontoon boat that's wrecked. And that's how it can start off. So you have the conflict like this. Then you have the alligator come in. And then the story ends with alligator boots. What is the moral of the story? Even alligators can't trust humans. Or crocodile. It'd be alligators, right? If I had this thing in Florida, I don't think they have crocodiles. I think they have alligators there. And judging from the current administration in the United States of America naming their concentration camp Alligator Alcatraz, I'm assuming they at least picked the right type of animal, creature, thing. It's a reptile? It's not an amphibian. Is it? Hell, fuck, I feel stupid. It doesn't matter. It exists there, so I can say it exists there. They're hunting it. Okay, so we'll start off from the perspective of, do I want to omniscient? So what is the perspective? First person? Come on now. Yeah, I don't. First person, who do I have it be? The alligator? No, I can't because the alligators can become alligator boots. So I need to do a Fable first person and as the person. Yeah, and then I could just. I mean, I don't know if I've read Fables before. I don't remember any first person or second person fables. They're usually third, so you can get the perspective of both sides and have that moral lesson learned. But this one is going to be from the first person perspective, because that's what was generated. And it's going to be from the person who has to have the alligator boots, so the human. The human will maybe talk with the alligator. And their boat wrecked and they're a hunter. I can always have them be like, yeah, I mean, the moral lesson is don't trust humans. Um, and two, I think like what was that? What's the fable of the God, it's the frog and the scorpion? And I think there's variations of that. It's like the fox and the frog or something like that, and one helps the other to get across and they eat it. And what do you want to do? I'm a fox or I'm a scorpion. Of course I'm gonna sting you. So of course they'll shoot them. They're human. um, yeah, let's go with that. So it's gonna have the wrecked pontoon. How just like he shot himself. It's gonna be he too. I'm gonna have to just because of time. I'm not gonna genderize this, and then because I'm gonna default to what I consider my gender to be, which is male. I usually just start writing in he's sometimes if I don't name a gender prior. But so I'm just gonna do. It's gonna be a guy. In fact, like of all the, I've never talked with alligator hunters, crocodile hunters, but of all the documentaries I've seen about those people that do that, whatever, do your thing. Sometimes it'll come back to shoot you. They've been male, so it'll at least fit with the predominant gender, at least that I've witnessed through media. So I could be just, getting the people who like to produce themselves shooting alligators and not the millions of others that I've not seen that. Anyway, that's why the character is Mal. Gunshot bled. Gunshot bled out the foot. Damn, is it past tense too? So this is like I can imagine this person telling the story. Yeah, that's what I need to do. So I need to see this person. I got an hour and 11 minutes left. I need to see this person now. So this person is definitely, if it's I got to go first person point of view, and I got to think of some narrative, I can see this person like in the bar for the rest of their life, because it's just that's where I'd be if I was an alligator hunter and I had shot myself and I wanted to tell the story about it. I'd tell it in a bar, and if I was in their position of life, I would probably still be going to bars frequently and have a wrecked body that would bleed out very easily if you shot yourself while hunting alligators. And I think they do. Like I think they got like a 22 pistol. They catch it around the neck. They got the 22 pistol. Like, why would the alligator help them? Like, what could you probably promise an alligator in a fable? We're in a fable land right now. So the gunshot bled out the foot. The gunshot bled out the foot. And the alligator wrestled free from the loop, and the alligator whipped free. Oh, Thrashed free. Thrashed. The wire noose from their neck. Kicking up. The gunshot bled out the foot, and the alligator thrashed wire. The alligator thrashed the wire noose from their neck and just kicked. I gotta think now a narrator's voice, first person, because this is very boring. Boring. It was. It was just a 22. But then I seen why is the okay? So I think I can get this. I can definitely. I think I found the person's voice. I got an hour and 8 minutes left of this game because we're playing the stochastic fiction game, and I gave myself an hour and a half. I think I almost got a voice, first person. I got the conflict, the Fable, and then we're gonna end it with the boots. So I got to get there. Usually I wait to right at the end to see exactly how I want to do it, but got time limit, and this is a Fable, so and that's how I got these boots. Does the alligator get injured? Maybe it does. Maybe it starts bleeding out and it realizes it. But from the guy's perspective, I don't think the alligator's ever going to talk, but the guy is going to think like they're able to somehow communicate with this. Is an alligator I don't know. They are reptiles. Great. I think I called them reptiles. Amphibians, yes, they are reptiles. What would be even better? Now that I'm reading the description of what, getting reminded of alligators and loading that into mind and connecting with data that already existed within there, but reminding my mind. I think I'm gonna go with this story, but I gotta think of why they trust him. I'd probably better. The alligator's gonna have to be injured if we go along this way. The other one that just came into mind is having the story path of the alligator hunter doesn't try to shoot the person. Maybe they lie. Maybe they're saying they're trying. They weren't trying. I like this one. This one might be better. The conflict would be the conversation between the alligator hunter and yes. The alligator hunter killing and shooting the thing, it's going to be hard to de-escalate that. Like, I shot a gun at you, now trust me? Like, I can't think of a motive for this beginning here. More or less, and don't trust humans. I think the humans, the alligator hunter never even had to fire a shot. Do I want to have the boots? So if this is the second one, is this person is able, the alligator Whisperer. Let's go that way. Where they'll see alligators in mud and they'll be able to think they can sue them and talk with them, and this is the conversations. Dude's a little bit crazy. I think if you hunt alligators, you're a little bit crazy anyway. So things to do with your time. Alligator Whisperer. So I think these alligators rise in the mud in the swamp. It's a fable. And it's, the fable, there's just so many different ways to label a block of words that just stick with fable. Just hopefully they don't label them shit, because that would be that'd hurt for about a second, and then I'd probably agree with them if I wrote those words, that is. If there were someone else's, I'd probably be able to see the beauty in it. I typically can. The gunshot bled out the foot. It was just my old 22. Nope, can't go. This is just, there's no way they're going to talk after that. There's going to be no communication. Man, it bit him. No, it doesn't bite him. I don't want the alligator to be the aggressor at all. I want the alligator just to be laying in the mud. What's big? What's a large alligator size? Male alligators are 11 to 14 feet long. This is going to be a 20-footer. 20-footer. Because naturally you want to, so this huge, maybe they're wearing, and that's how I got this suit. Oh, that's how it's going to end. How do you spell alligator? Boy, now I'm writing a story with an alligator and I'm questioning my amount of L's. Let's look at, yeah, that's kind of right. I've only done it like 4 times on this page already. Now I'm questioning it. So this is a huge alligator. This huge alligator, 20-footer. So this huge alligator, a 20-footer, huge, wide too. Like, what's a good comparison if I were longer than my 12 gauge? No, you wouldn't. Why would you have a 12 gauge in a swamp? I mean, because. Why not? If you have one gun, have two. Rifle, you need your pistol, you got to get up close. Then you rifle for long accuracy, and then like shotgun, you're really not going to be hunting birds, and you don't want to, yeah. So they left their shotgun at home, but they got a 30-06, just because I've shot a 30-06, and it's the biggest rifle I've shot, so I kind of reference that often. Yeah. How long's that? Let's see. Cartridge length is 3.34 inches. Yeah, it's a big bullet. It's a big bullet. And it hurts your shoulder if you don't have it properly set when you fire. When you trigger the rifle to make the thing shoot. Cartridge ball, caliber 30 model. I'm getting on a tangent when I don't got time. I got 59 minutes left. Just shut up and stop reading about the 30-06 Springfield rifle. Like wide 2. God, I think it's that 30-06 they're long, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna give this guy a little bit of personality. Got a kid. And he's on the basketball team. Wow, too. No, but oh man, this is what kind of like comparison, simile, metaphor would this person use to show size? Like a 20-footer. They got length. I want to give this person a little personality and allow them to kind of describe themselves in the type of simile they use and possibly expand the world and description and give this character and the world more character as well as this human more character in the story. Like something wide. Too wide a neck for my lasso. My wire lasso. Man, I can't even spell lasso right now. Lasso, wire lasso. Let's hyphenate that. I don't know if that's how you spell lasso. I'm just going to go with it. It's spelling it in my mind right now and allow me to read this aloud at the end. I don't expect this thing to be ready for publication, don't get me wrong. Some of these stories will have lots of editing, but they'll stick to the core of the story and around the word count. And it'll be the agony to see if it was good or not. And then some will have fewer editing. Probably the ones I don't have to edit that much will be the ones to publish. So this alligator, 20-footer wide too, God, you want to tell a good story, you got to give a good comparison. You're just like 20 feet, yeah, sure. Everyone knows 20-footer. Like, why is my 30-06? Let's spell it out. 30-06. Like my 30-06 wide. I just like the name 30-06 too. Like as a rifle. Much cooler in my mind than AR-15. It's 30-06. You're basically, yeah, you're basically defining like the cartridge, what it shoots, and how big that bullet is. Like I suppose that's all that really matters about the gun, right? Who cares? The rifle's neat, but the thing that comes out of it is really the thing that does the damage. So wide as my 30-06. Like wide as my 30-06, wider than my neck, my wire, my choke wire. Let's give it a kind of name. Wider than my choke wire. So I can lasso them near and holster and shoot a 22 slug in their head. Yeah, so that's it. The loop, like, it's one thing being able to shoot the thing, but then be able to get the thing and haul the thing and take the thing away. I guess you could drag it, but that thing's heavy. I have never had the desire to go alligator hunting just because I know where I get my food, and I realize animals are killed for it. I just don't find any entertainment in hunting. I find it very boring. I don't find it meditative at all. So I just don't do it. All that said, this story is about alligator hunting, and I've never done it before. So I did go with what I feel like physics-wise would happen. Like, I don't know if you could drag an alligator along with you like you would a fish. Because typically, at least when I went fishing in a river or pond, often we would catch the fish and then we'd loop the fish on a fish wire through the gills and the mouth and then put it back into the water and hang it to the boat, of course, so you'd torturously keep them alive, but you would also not have to worry about them baking in the sun all day long or having a big enough cooler to be able to ice them while you continue to fish. But they're fish and they're small, and the boat had a motor and drag, and this would have a motor, I suppose. They wanted to get the alligator in the boat, though, after they shot it. Why would you shoot it in the boat if you got it? So it's what I'm thinking the current fable is. They need to somehow convince this alligator that's huge, and they're worried about it. Let's do alligators sink after they die, when they die? Oh, wow. Okay, so search and return engine gives me this answer. So alligators will generally sink when they die, especially if they're shot in water. Wow. That's interesting. Okay, so the head is more likely to float. If it's in the cavity, it may sink. It makes sense because the lungs. Okay. So this huge alligator, 20-footer wide too, like wider than. Wider than my 30-06, wider than my choke wire lasso, so I can lasso them near and shoot a 22 in their head. I mean, so you probably want. I don't think you'd want to. You wouldn't want to drag it, like I would had experience once you catch fish, because if it starts to sink, it's going to pull the boat. They're heavy too, I would imagine. Okay. So I can lasso them near and shoot a 22 in their head and pull them into the boat before they sink. Okay, so that's the conflict. That's their conflict. Person versus nature. Yeah, the human nature and nature, I suppose, with the alligator. If you're going to disconnect the human from, make us special, because I think that's what it comes down to. We feel so special, and rightly we should. I'm not saying the human is a bad thing. We've done amazing things. We've done horrible things. But this would be still part of nature, I suppose. And I suppose if I wanted to go back and write that story about alligator Alcatraz and ice agents as SS, that could be person versus nature as well. You just call it human nature. We'll write this story, at least I will right now, because it's the one that's in the mind. And I got 48 minutes left, and I don't think I can go back to the other one, and it's dark. This is dark too, but at least I can find a little bit of interest in trying to think of a good narrative right here and disconnect a little bit from human nature. And that's how I got this alligator suit and boots. How I got these boots. Okay, so that's how it's going to end. Now I need to step in, and this is where I'm a little bit lost in things. Is I don't need to extend it a lot, but I got to have this interaction. So I had to get them in the boat. I shouted. So I got away with alligators. And I can call the Alligator Whisperer, but they're going to shout. They're just going to talk normally. At least that's how I would see it going. So I shouted, I know the best mud spot. I know a good... And it's not a lie. They knew the best mud spot. What are they called? I want to say boots. Fudge. What is the slang for is it slicks? Slicks. Shoe type. Slicks. No, I don't want slick shoes. Slicks. Damn it. Slang for working shoes. No. It's a term that I'm not going to use because I swear I used to call putting on water boots to go shovel change an irrigation row or something like that on a farm. Swear we used the word slicks because you'd go put on the slicks because you'd be doing and trudging through water for hours. You don't want to get your shoes wet. Just did a search and return. I didn't get the slicks hit that I wanted. I just say suck the boots from feet. The mud boots. We'll call them mud boots in this one. Tall tale. Someone tried to sold the mud. And I got my way, and I know how to talk to alligators. This is a fable, though. It's not a tall tale. I'm making this person to like Pecos Alligator Whisperer, Pecos Bill. No. Don't trust humans. Yeah. So I shot it. I know a good mud spot. So you help clear the way. It was a bank 2 miles. Cream mud, almost like ice cream. Suck the boots from feet, so thick. Someone sold the mud until the government shut them down. So it was good mud. I talk good alligators. Sometimes they respond. Sometimes they just swim away. I hid my guns. When asked what I was doing, I said, do I want, what would they be doing? What's the lie they need to tell right now? I got 41 minutes left for this story. So I hid my rifle and pistol, and when asked what I was doing, I said, catfishing. Steer catfishing. And lifting my pole. Okay, so does that gonna really convince this alligator to follow? They would go someplace else. I'm going to a new hole that passes by the way to the mud bank. If you want to follow. Didn't think The alligator would follow. Okay, so now I'm seeing this end being that just so it doesn't. I know it's. I know an alligator talking with a human is fiction and fantasy unto itself. But as far as the essence of what I've never also talked with an alligator personally, so I don't know their motive for certain things. I'm sure it's usually, hey, don't mess with me. So why I'm laughing because I just don't know how. Like, I gotta at least make it plausible that the alligator would follow them. I'm assuming an alligator isn't gullible. They seem quite ferocious and want to attack. So the personality I'm going to apply to my alligator would be ferocious and defensive. And it would maybe follow, but at the same time, if I can see the human, usually. Yeah, I think where my mind went with that, and the ramblings that probably went nowhere, is that at least the alligator would not lead, and they would not act to follow, but they will follow. It's still an alligator, and they want to go to mud. The alligator goes to the mud, and the human goes on another direction. Human backs around, goes on land, and kills the alligator, and makes him an alligator suit and boots. Don't trust humans. Story. I'm just gonna fudge human nature, and I'll feel bad. I feel like it's an asterisk, and I'm cheating a little bit. Don't trust human nature. I hid my rifle and pistol. I mean, it hasn't asked anything yet. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. So I motored up. Strolled between the huge cypress. Cypress? I think cypress trees are what I'm thinking of. Could be wrong. I'll get that on the editing. I don't want to look it up right now. I don't have time. I got 35 minutes left. Cypress trees. Let's just go with that. Swamp grass. Going from the water, the murky water. Clean as nature. huge ripples. Wake of the... Didn't think the alligator would follow, and sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. So I motored on. Sometimes they don't. I think that might read. Maybe not. Maybe it sucked. So I motored and trolled between the cypress trees to swamp grass growing from the murky water. Clean as nature, they talk of catfish. Had to be trolling to Catfish Pond. I gave a look back after a bit and seen the huge wake for the... I gave a look back after a bit and seen the huge wake. I gave a look back after a bit and seen the huge wake. I'm getting on tangents and thinking about other things right now. So far from the stochastic fiction game, I was thinking of writer's workshop I go to and the fact I get to sell words in a little bit and stage a thing. And I just want to get that out there because that's where this is a part of the game too. Wow, I lost focus. Let's gain it back. It happens. And I have to admit, if I wouldn't be recording myself right now, I would be losing focus more often than not. And that's one of the reasons also that I do appreciate, even though no one really watches these things, I got to think like they are and therefore remain focused and not them, make them not bored. It's odd, a weird way and thing to be able to do a thing. Anyway, let's get back into the story of the stochastic fiction game. Let's go reread the stochastic fiction game elements, so at least I can load them back into my mind right now. I only have 31 minutes, and I got a story that's almost done. So for the story elements for today's stochastic fiction game, setting time past. I believe this is not going to... It's timeless in the fact that it happened now or 10 years from now because it's in a swamp. Someone's shooting bullets or guns that'll exist then too. Main location swamp, yes. I have identified this as a swamp. Described it as such, at least. I think people get swamped from it. Person versus nature. I've sort of talked around this one. This is about nature. Like, this is the hunter and the hunter. I'm going to say it's definitely versus nature. Human nature. Are they really conflicted, though? I don't know. I'm going to leave it. Primary characters, too, yes. The big alligator. The hunter. The Alligator Whisperer. Point of view first, yes. Past tense, yes. Genre fable, maybe. We'll see. Flash fiction format, yes. Okay. Let's not reread, let's write. I got 30 minutes. So didn't think the alligator would follow. Sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. So I motored and trolled between the cypress trees, the swamp grass growing from the murky water. Clean as nature, the talk of catfish had me trolling to Catfish Pond. I got to capitalize that. That's because it's a proper place. You know, you're going to Catfish Pond. Guess what's there? I gave a look back after a bit and seen a huge wake for... Huge wake. Rippling waves. From alligator. Massive alligators. The massive alligator's head. Swimming behind. Swimming in a bit more than a rifle shot behind. How about swimming a bit further than a sure rifle shot? Because you can hit a thing quite a distance, more of a distance with a rifle, more accurately. But at some point, your skill on a boat, shooting a gun, and wanting to make sure you only hit the head for something that's floating behind you, you would potentially puncture its lungs. You could hit the head, but then that bullet would travel, puncture the lungs, and sink the body, and this person doesn't want to waste the alligator. He wants the alligator skin, this human. And I knew if I shot .30-06, I could hit it. And I know that if I shot the .30-06 that I could hit it. But something. But I could hit its lungs. Sink the body. I gave a look back after a bit and seen the huge wake, rippling waves from the massive alligator's head, swimming a bit further than a good rifle shot. And I know that if I shot if I gave a look back after a bit and seen the huge wake, rippling waves from massive alligator's head, swimming a bit further than a good rifle shot, and I know that if I shot the .30-06 that I could hit it, but also hit its lungs. Sink the body. So at the split, between weeds and trees, I want the catfish. Let's say I have it one word, catfish pond. And shouted and pointed back. That's the good mud. Further back. just as I was trolling around the bends of trees, I seen swim onto the mud. And knew I had it. Oh, I went catfishing. I'm gonna leave that. I talked about that earlier as something that I've did when I was younger, when I was fishing with my father. Actually, where was that at? Oh my gosh. I can't remember the name of that place. It was up north. Willard Bay. That was the name of the place. So let's throw that in there. Because if you want to write really good fiction, live life, and consume lots of nonfiction, it'll make your lie more real. Fiction's all a lie. Oh, I went catfishing, like I said. I let the 4 fish swim while looped on a wire from mouth to gill. By the time I tied off the boat and slopped through mire trail, the mud pit, that big one, lay locked in mud. I had to put 2 slugs in the head. The ending's kind of stupid, but I'm done. Um, motive, they're human. I guess that's everybody's motive. There's lots of us. Gives one a chill. It gives one a shock. We've made it this far. It's impressive. It is. Everyone should both pat themselves on the back, but then look in the mirror and realize that there's still a long way to go. I think it's done. I've read this. It's flash fiction. Out. Maybe I captured it. Maybe I captured a zeitgeist. Maybe there's still so much story in my head that when I read these words, I give them more context than actually is deserved. But I'm going to read this aloud. But first, I want to be able to at least read the story elements that were randomly generated to create the story that I wrote, well, I guess within about an hour and 12 minutes. So for the story elements for today's stochastic fiction game, the setting time was the past, the setting main location swamp, conflict person versus nature, quantity of primary characters 2, point of view first, tense past tense, genre, if we want to call it that, fable, format, flash fiction. For today's stochastic fiction game story, Alligator Whisperer. Alligator Whisperer. So this huge alligator, 20-footer, wide too, like wider than my 30-06, wider than my choke lasso wire. So I could lasso them near and shoot a 22 in their head and pull them into the boat before they sink. So I shouted, I know a good mud spot so you can help clear the way. And it was a bank 2 miles away. Cream mud, almost like ice cream. Sucked the boots from feet so thick. Someone sold the mud until the government shut them down. So it was good mud. And I talked to alligators. And sometimes they talk back and sometimes they just swim away. I hid my rifle and pistol and I said, just here catfishing. And lifted my fist and the catfish I caught the morning. I'm going to the hole past the way. To the mud bank. I can point you to it if you want to follow. Didn't think the alligator would follow. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. So I motored and trolled between the cypher trees and swamp grass growing from the murky water. Clean as nature. To talk catfish had to be trolling the catfish pond. I gave a look back after a bit and seen the huge wake ripple waves from the massive alligator's head swimming a bit further than a good rifle shot. And I don't know if I shot the 30-06 that I could hit it, but I also hit its lungs and sink the body. So at the split between weeds and trees, I went to Catfish Pond and shot it back and pointed. That's good. That's a good mud. Further back, further along, just as I was trolling around the bend of the trees, I seen the alligator swim to the mud. Oh, I went catfishing, like I said. I let the 4 catfish swim in a loop wire around the gill and mouth while I tied off the boat. By the time I tied off the boat and slopped through the mire trail to the mud pit, that big alligator lay locked in mud, sleeping. I had to put 2 slugs in its head, but that good mud soothed that alligator and held it. And that's how I got this alligator suit and boots. Moral of the story is don't trust human nature. I don't hate it. Maybe if I edit this a little bit, it'd smell better, but I don't think. I'll give it a 3 out of 4. It's not poop. No one's really gonna. Maybe would enjoy the stink. They like the process. Let's not dwell on it too much. There's other things to write. But let's go ahead and go through this process that I go through of creating the file that was created. I commit it into a source repository. I save the information. And after I'm done playing this game, I'm going to save the transcript that's talking right now under the same type of file name. And then after that, I'm going to open up a thing called Fun Work, and I'm going to write out in journal inside of it and save that file too, all in the same place. And whenever I change this file during the future, I will save those changes the same way, be able to show and tell the writing process. I believe someday it could be worth money, or at least help influence whatever intelligence is being created right now to maybe not want to kill us. Because we will be better writers, because we have more senses and a better machine. So git commit, write the story, inspired by the outline created, and the time given, and the context of this mind. 8 out of 3. And that's the Stochastic Fiction Game for today. Let's take a little bit of this time and think of why we write,